Commissioner Ashworth.
Here.
Commissioner Banks.
Here.
Commissioner Hassler. Here. Commissioner Schwer. Here.
Last couple of weeks. Better family. Personally, it was my watch this one. I want to say about just how proud of the fact that the efforts that you all gave us in support of what was. Thank you for your leadership. The first thing I got here is got the motion. Captain Williams. Promoting Captain James Williams, Lieutenant to Captain James Williams. He's a 27-year veteran in our department. He's been to a number of different locations, started out with South County Precinct, personnel for a number of years, I think 2 stints in BPS, and now he's going to command Bureau of Professional Standards. So, James just finished Northwest. Tell me the name of the school again. It's about this small.
It's called the Northwestern School of Police Staff and Command. It's a 10-year course. It's very rigorous. I'm glad to be home.
And James was selected as president for that class too. So.
Thanks.
And anyone here that you want to mention? I'm sure it is. Right?
Yeah, I got Mother McWilliams here, right there. My son Trey and my wife could not make it under the weather. But I give my regards, so glad to be here. My BPS family is here, right? Everybody cheers for that?
Congratulations to you too.
Ms. Lori, give me your moms. Take pictures. And the other reason so many people are here today is to welcome you to your new position. So. He started that. Next on the agenda is our budget. The expert is not here this morning, so she left all of this to me. Don't have a whole lot. She made sure I didn't have a lot to tell you. But last night at the county council meeting, they did pass they perfected 2022 budget. There was a sub bill to it because they deleted like $8 million from the original proposal. And I think that was because they put ARPA money into that bill, and they realized later that they shouldn't have put that ARPA money in there, so they took it out. So the budget was approved. I remember at the last meeting, I mentioned to you the fact that they had asked us to increase our budget with some things that they figured they were going to give us. Well, they didn't give them to us. Okay, so we're stuck with our original budget of, I think it was like round figures about 162, 163 million for the police budget for 2022. And the increase in the amount yesterday did not affect salaries for our department.
Can I ask a question? What was the question about?
I'm sorry.
Additional funds, what happened? Why did they?
I think what they had done is they had put some of the ARPA funds into the original 361 million that they were going to approve last night. They realized that they couldn't put that ARPA money in there at that time, so they deleted it. So that brought it down, the entire county budget down to about 353 million. It's still there. And it was backed out. Okay, we're all- I get it.
Yes. Know where the county is with respect to allocating.
But we don't, I know that the original amount that we had asked for was 36. And other than this in the park, the executive with it.
I was at the. As it's been rushed through. That issue is. Takes some time. So.
Yeah, by which thing?
The funds, there was like.
There is, but Carl helped me. I think it was 2024.
Oh,
It's way in the future.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that's where we are with the budget. Questions, appreciate it. Crime stats. Oh.
Sure.
Mouse right there.
We just use the mouse. Easy.
Yeah.
Right, members of the board. It says command staff, it's because they wouldn't let me switch it at the last second. So I apologize for that. And how do I, sorry, this is my first time, so to just quit. Yep, that's what we're trying to do. All right. So as you can see here, can everybody see the screens, I guess, the notable events? If you look at some of these, and I know Commissioner Ashworth, you had specifically asked at the last meeting about use of force incidents, which I do have a couple more slides to discuss on that. Our citizen complaints overall, I'd like to look at these also from 2019, which I think you requested, because that's more realistic to 2021, 2020 being that outlier year. You look at our internal investigations, right on par. Use of force incidents from 2019 to 21 is a total and change of 16 overall, which is about 1.2 per month up through November. So the use of force incidents are pretty much the same across the board. The vehicle accidents a little bit down since 19. Pursuits, again, staying the same. Guns seized with total firearms and incidents are both up. again, the proactive policing that we saw kind of decline in 2020 due to COVID is now back up. So those are good numbers. Next slide, please. So this is our use of force year to date. On the left, the total use of force incidents is the exact same numbers that you just saw in that first slide. On the right is the total uses of force. And I know that this is small, so I'm going to read this, but the use of force incident on the left is an incident in which force is used. So just one singular event. The uses of force is the total times force is applied. There can be multiple uses of force within the same incident, if that makes sense on these numbers.
Who decides when a use of force was applied or used?
So it's the police officer right off the bat. And then there's supervisor that would respond to the scene. The benefit that we have now since 2020 is the use of body cameras. And if you look at the uptick in this, I know that Sarah had a chance to explain the difference between the UCR stats and the NIBR. So some of this has to do with that and just the way that NIBR calculates. But I think the overall majority is the body cameras have given us a more true depiction and a more accurate account of what happened on the scene. So it doesn't mean that anything pre-2019 wasn't, again, if you look at the incidents, were just about the same. But what has happened is if myself and another officer involved in use of force where we're using physical restraint, and it's a 3-minute encounter with a subject. And back in 2019, before body cameras, I may have said, you know, when my supervisor got on scene, hey, I remember in the struggle, I tried to, you know, I escorted this subject to the ground on 2 occasions. I tried to grab his left wrist. My partner came in, grabbed his right wrist. That's my recollection after that event. Now, the use of body cameras has given the department, we can see exactly what happened. Does that make sense? So it's a good thing for us because it allows us to be more transparent as well.
So that's saying that the numbers we had in 2019, they weren't wrong then, but we just have better accounting for it in 2021.
That's
We looked at a
100%.
5% increase in total use of force, total use of force incidents, but you see a 50% increase in the total uses of force.
Yeah, and if you can go to the next slide. So you'll see here, so this is the use of force by type. So actually, since 2019, so our firearms, I know that you are aware of the officer about this is through November, so that would not have accounted the 2 from last week. But baton down, canine down, taser down, pepper spray down, physical striking down from 19. What is up is physical restraint. And again, those are those times when I'm trying to grab a wrist, trying to escort, again, somebody to the ground. We get on the ground, he's not complying with my hands. This happens so quickly that now we can look at the body camera and say, well, this guy tried to physically restrain this subject on this number of occasions, which gives us a more accurate account. So yes, there was nothing ever wrong with 2019, but we can actually physically see that now.
Thank you.
Question, what would, out of curiosity, what would be the other category? What was fit in there?
So that's a good question. Anybody BPS, if you guys in the spot. So I will get an answer for it. I'm not sure. And the missing, I also spoke with the commander from BPS, and they're going to look into those. So I'll definitely have an answer for you.
No worries.
And then the next slide, again, pretty much the same thing. This is just reason going in order of 2021. Obviously, folks resisting arrest would be the most times that we've used force and on down.
Nice to see the CIT number going up if we're using that intervention and potentially close other interventions.
Yes, and again, the CIT is because those are not arrests; those are trying to get those folks help to the hospital. Right. As far as the crime data, so crimes against persons, again, to me, nothing extremely shocking that jumps off the page. Aggravated assaults are down, which is good. Obviously, the top one, murder there. But nothing jumps out to me as off the charts one way or the other. You can go to property. So I will bring your attention to this. So everything is pretty much down in that right column in 2021 from property. with the exceptions of the destruction, damage, and vandalism property, as well as the stolen property offenses are the only two that are up. And those all have to do with the recent car clubbings and people breaking into vehicles, damaging the windows, which obviously would go under the destruction or damage of property. Next. Crimes against society. The two main things here, that drug and narcotic violations are up and that weapons are up, just shows that our officers, again, are reinitiating and re-engaging in the proactive policing and getting more guns and drugs and narcotics off the street. And then calls for service. Commissioner Banks, I know that you had a couple of questions about this from the last meeting. So if we look at the directed calls for service, sir, I think your specific question from last meeting had to do with, we should go to the next slide, please. The self-initiated calls for service. I think you had asked about the North County precinct as compared to the Afton Southwest precinct. So go back to the directed. So as you can see in North County, obviously on a moving average, just over the last 5 months, those guys respond to over 6,000 calls, directed calls for service, where it is a radio dispatch that they have to respond to. Whereas in the Afton Southwest precinct, it's only 2,700. I hate to ask you to go to the third precinct. One more. Then we take a little deeper dive into this. So whereas the Afton Southwest precinct had all of those self-initiated, you will notice that over 28,000 of those are between extra patrols and muni patrols. So if you took the 28,000, the average off of the self-initiated calls for service from the third precinct, they would be right at about the 1,900, 1,800 cap that the North County precinct would be. So you were just asking for an explanation of why that looks so much different. And it's just to understand, it's a lot harder for the guys in North County who will be going at times from call to call to call. You know, they clear a call, they're immediately directed to another call. Whereas I can speak for Afton because I worked there. I may clear a call and then I get another radio assignment for an hour or two. So that allows me to do some of these other things. And then, so each of these is in here and I will get you guys a copy of this for each precinct. I just wanted to explain that, sir, because I knew that you had direct questions on that. And then the traffic stop data, go ahead. This is our last slide. Again, nothing really changing from the last meeting. I know that Sarah had showed you guys, so nothing. I don't know if anybody had any questions regarding this, but. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lieutenant. Appreciate it. Next up is Paul Becker going to do a human resource update.
Chief, morning. So as of December 1, we have 972 authorized. That has remained the same. We have actually are up for, we have 901 actual commission. We hired a few laterals and for the experienced officers. And then, so we currently have 71 vacancies, and again, that's down by 4. Class 203 is going to graduate 9 county officers tonight. Presence requested at 5:30 if you can attend at Logan College, which is a very nice venue to be back at. Class 204 starts January 3rd. Right now, we have 20 county officers attending. It'll be a class of 53 at this point. And we expect to have perhaps 3 more. We have some more final review boards before the end of the year. And with regard to professional staff, we remain at 370 authorized. We have 349 actual, and that's a vacancy of 21. And we talk about it in closed session if you have any questions, but just to update you that we are negotiating the professional staff and lab collective bargaining agreements. The military separations remain at 11. As you know, the department wholeheartedly supports reservists, and some of them are overseas, some of them are stateside. And for the applications for last month, we had 29 police officer, police recruit, or I'm sorry, 28 police officer, police recruit applications. We currently have 8 in background. And in the month of November, 7 were NBQ, not best qualified, and 7 voluntarily withdrew. So far for 2021, we've hired 28 commission, and of those 28, 25% are minorities. And we have hired 80 professional staff, and 32% of those are minority. Are there any questions?
Carl, what's driving the significant increase in the academy attendance, not just for us, but across all the municipalities too?
I think it would be that the municipalities are in the same situation we are with low staffing. So there isn't always a willingness of municipalities to put people through the academy and pay them like we do. Municipalities historically have sought to get laterals. Sometimes they'll put people through. I think it's a reflection of the overall staffing across the nation.
I'm hoping that you say that there's this generation of people want to get more involved in policing, and therefore the whole time.
I would like to believe that. Yes, sir.
I'm very encouraged. Can you hear me?
I can.
I'm very encouraged by this upward trend in our new hires. I think it's fantastic, and I hope that we can continue with that. I wonder, and I kind of want to challenge your department to think of what we're doing with respect to retention and whether there are any initiatives that our department can consider and apply in order to improve our retention rate, simply because the cost of keeping our good officers here is less than the cost to go out and find new ones. And so I think if we could add that to our 2022 goals, it would be time well spent.
We definitely accept that challenge, and I can tell you, we probably talk about that on almost an hourly basis, so.
To the extent that the board can be part of that discussion and support that, we would invite you to bring us into that conversation as well.
Already have a meeting like that scheduled. Thank you.
Yes.
Richard, did you mention something about getting information about the next generation? Maybe I missed that.
We were hoping, no, sir.
Because I say we have a committee that I wanted to start with information we got from the Tornado retreat, and Colonel Cox is leading that initiative, and what we're doing was dealing with this next generation, getting some ideas from them as to what we can do to help with recruiting, what we can do with recruiting, because, there's a lot of information that we can get from them. And so that's one of the initiatives that we're working on. And like I said, Colonel Cox is heading that up. Next up, I'm going to do a little update on speaking of Tornado report. I got some talking points from Faith as regards to where we're going with this. And I know that the board has already approved the codification of the discrimination policy that we adopted. I think the duty to intervene is on your desk to be looked at today. That was completed. I believe I know for a fact that the body camera release policy is on your desk to hopefully be approved today. That was one of the recommendations from Teneo. Faith has listed here a number of suggestions that we at this point have declined. Okay. And I spoke with her earlier this morning. I just wanted to speak with her as to get a reason as to why we declined those. Some of those I know why we declined. I think one of the recommendations was that Teneo wanted everybody from me down to wear a body cam. So that just didn't make a lot of sense to us, for us, to everybody in the department to wear body cameras. So that was one of the ones that we declined. Another one that they wanted us to do was to do pedestrian stop information, just as we do traffic stop information, to take information from the people that we dealt with on pedestrian stops. That was a $40,000 increase in software to do that. And we also had some concerns about the fact that, you know, with people on the street based on a suspicious stop or probable cause stop, could cause some issues. If they had to stand around, they've done nothing, we stopped them, we asked them some questions, whatever. They probably didn't want to be stopped anyway. And now they have to stand around to give us some information to fill out on a pedestrian stop card that we have. I could see them being upset about that. When they get upset about that, then it leads into other situations. So we just, at this point, we've declined to do that. If something comes up later where we can adjust that, you know, maybe we'll look into it, but we just don't think that's a good idea right now. So again, with some of the other things that she has listed here as declined, I'm going to get with her and give you a better update as to why they were declined. Carl is Scott in for. There he is. There he is, right here on time. Scott, you're up, sir.
Scott, could you hold on?
My bad. I was trying to get away.
I just have one. There were, earlier this year, you had a report card of what we're progressing on, kind of a red, yellow, green
Yes.
type of thing.
Mhm.
For next meeting, would you just provide that high level update for us?
I got it right here for December. As far as issues that were declined, it went from 3.4% in November up to 19.4% of more of those issues that we declined. We've increased the completed assignments by about 2%. And we are in December, we're less on issues that are in progress. So we're less on issues that are in progress from what it was in November. So we're working slowly to get some of these things done.
And a little bit more about moving from a 3% declination rate to 1 out of 5 ideas were declined.
Right.
We'd like to understand a little bit more of the
And
detail around.
that's the information I'll get to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Scott.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to be here today and kind of give you a quick basic overview of what the wellness unit consists of. We started a wellness unit in January of this year. It's the first time in our history. You're looking at the wellness unit. It's me. Started in January. And I like to tell my colleagues in the area, because I've been working on this literally for 10 years informally, kind of extracurricularly with my other duties on looking into wellness and peer support and mental health support. Talking with my colleagues in the area locally, we are innovators. Nationally, we're just getting caught up. The coasts specifically have really been progressive as far as seeking wellness and mental health. San Diego, Connecticut, San Antonio, all these departments have really done it. It's finally starting to creep into the middle. And I think it's generationally, which was alluded to earlier, which I'll have something very briefly to say about that. But conceptually, what the wellness unit does is I am responsible for ensuring the mental, emotional, and physical well-being of all 1,200 plus employees of our entire department. But I also do the families as well. So easily we could double that number. How I do that is hook them up with resources, I help them navigate resources. It's a common reason why people don't want to seek help is it's just too hard, or I just don't understand it. Well, I'm there, I can navigate you through that. I'm a liaison with our EAP, which is one of my best tools that I have available. So I basically hook people up with services as best I can. Same with family members, explain it to them, help them get there, help them get to that point. I'm also in charge of the chaplains, our chaplaincy. I am blessed, no pun intended, to have 25 plus chaplains available to me. And Chaplain Rabbi Shook is the supervisor of chaplains. Sometimes I think I work for him. Several projects are in the works. I liken it to a racetrack full of race cars. I hop in one car, I drive it partway around the track, and then I got to jump out and get into another one, drive it a little further, jump out and drive the other one. And those are all my little projects that I have going on right now, which is several. Fortunately, I have a lot of informal help from the employees of our department, officers. I definitely, without question, have the support of our chiefs and our executive command staff. I think we all see the value in having a unit like this. The best officer, the best detective is mentally, emotionally, and physically sound and happy. And I think that's what we owe to the public for sure, is that you're getting the best officer at the time at your scene, investigating your crime, solving your mystery, whatever it might be. So I have a lot of help from the commanders, the Family Association with Kim Miner. Again, a lot of informal people, it's about strictly volunteer basis, and I greatly appreciate that. I saw that in exponentially, a few days ago with Detective Valentine. So my immediate challenges are, and this is the big one right now. I've got several challenges. I'll just give you two. The biggest one right now is getting the word of our available resources to the family members of everybody, including everybody in this room, getting the resource message there. It's really, I can send emails all day long, and I have sat in on the process to pick an EAP contract for St. Louis County government. And I know as part of that process, they provide flyers and postcards and we send them home. So the email is either getting deleted or the flyer is considered junk mail. So unfortunately, the message is not making it. Good news is I've got people like Kim, I've got a family association, I've got a wives association, I have a father's association, a mother's association, kids association. My kids are part of that. We're getting the word out to that, but unfortunately, we're kind of preaching to the choir. They know that they're out there, but I know that we're missing a large segment of people, which I'll talk about briefly here in a second. My only other challenge right now is, and I did not realize this in the 10 years I've been looking into this, I did not realize that EAP benefits are not available to retirees. I learned that the hard way because I have now heard from no less than 5 retirees from our department, ranging in issues ranging in needs. The only exception is a retiree who is also an intermittent employee. They fall under the umbrella of being able to get the EAP benefit. So for right now, we do not have that. I'm working with my boss, Mr. Becker, and St. Louis County Government HR, and we're hoping to come to a resolution for that. We're not negotiating a contract for EAP, I think for at least 22, and if they take their option, we're going to get up to 23. So I really need to solve that. The issues I'm hearing from retirees are common, and it is definitely an issue that it's not just us, it's nationwide, for agencies nationwide. So those are my 2 biggest challenges. I will say that as far as recruiting and retention goes, we alluded to generational differences. I think that the fact that we have a wellness unit speaks to this generation. Data shows that millennials and Gen Z, they care more about themselves mentally and physically than any generation before them. So they're the ones that appreciate getting help. They're the ones that appreciate being sound and using the resources that are available to them. So in my capacity, I try to speak to that generation as often as possible. One significant step we took towards that is we created a wellness app. I'll bet everybody in this room has it. And I know you do, sir. But that app was provided to us by the foundation, and I'm getting great reviews on it. It's very resourceful. There's a lot of great things in it, but that is something that this generation appreciates because, like we say, it's all right here, right? So that's where they have information, resources, and help at their fingertips. There's an SOS button. They can hit a button and call the EAP right away. So all of that is available to them. The other thing I noticed is, and this is an anecdote that I just kind of discovered, I'm a 3rd generation police officer. My grandfather retired from St. Louis City as a sergeant. My father retired from St. Louis City as a sergeant. And I asked my dad, I said, hey, if grandpa would have walked into the station and said, hey, I saw my therapist today, or my father in 1965, or my father walked into the station in 1991 and said, hey, I saw my therapist today, how would that have been met? And of course, we all know the answer. They would be shunned. I'm not right next to that guy. I'm going to desk duty, maybe overlook for promotions, what have you. Well, I actually saw at the 7th Precinct Station about a year ago, a conversation where an officer walked in and said, I saw my therapist today. And the officer standing next to him said, really, who do you see? I think that's where we're coming. I'm not saying we're 100% there yet, but we're starting to embrace it a little bit more. I think people are starting to realize the value of that. So the last thing I will speak on, I was asked to kind of give a brief assessment on where the department is regarding Detective Valentine. It's way too soon, but obvious to say we're still very much grieving. We're definitely in grieving stages. I've seen officers in all of the travels that I've been doing that are all over the board in stages of grief. We are definitely still in grieving mode, and quite frankly, we will be for some time. There are people that are still grieving from some of the pictures behind you on the wall today. It just takes an inordinate amount of time sometimes. Now, I will say we're doing what we can from a wellness standpoint. We already had one critical incident debrief for those officers and detectives immediately involved in the situation, directly involved. And we have another one scheduled probably for the first week in January. Unfortunately, coming up to the holidays, attendance is crucial. And right now we're fighting days off and things and vacations and things like that. So it's not out of the ordinary for CISM, Critical Incident Stress Management Team of Greater St. Louis, which I'm on the board of, to plan this to after the holiday. Our focus will change just a little bit, more kind of looking to the future as opposed to dealing with the immediate situation. That is completely normal in CISM. So the other, I guess, back to the resources thing, I've had some family members of people in our department reach out to me looking for help for their family, because this permeates down to the family dynamic for sure in an incident like this. And this gets back to what I was saying before. Luckily, the people that reached out to the right people who forwarded them to me, and I was able to get them that help. But unfortunately, I think there's some families out there that just don't realize that we have this resource that's available for them. So we're doing the best we can, and I've got a lot of help, a lot of great support from everybody in our department. I can't tell you how many times I was asked, what can I do to help? What can I do to help? Chief Rigger alluded to it earlier. This is an unbelievable, resilient group of people, and that they want to help. They want to be there, and we're all taking care of each other. I've heard, "Are you okay? How are you doing?" a million times, and we're going to have to probably hear it about a billion more. So I want to invite all of you to, I know a couple of you have reached out to me and we've had conversations, but I would definitely invite you to come and see my office. I'm at the ECC, 2 doors down from Michelle Ryan, which sometimes is a bad thing. But you're more than welcome to come out, and I would love to sit down and talk to you if you want to know more about what your new wellness unit does. So any questions I can answer for you.
As I listen to you, it sounds like you're doing a good job.
Thank you, ma'am.
Lots of support. However, you're just one person, so I'm wondering whether or not you have, I don't even know if it's right to ask the question. It seems to me that you need more formal support, an assistant or someone else to help.
I won't fight you on that. In talking with my colleagues in other agencies across the nation that have departments similar to ours, they range in staff. They range in the amount of staff that they have. My vision one day is to have an in-house EAP. That's a staff. New York, which I know is way out there, but just to give you an example, they have a division dedicated to wellness. But ideally, yes, having some help, some officers or sergeants or whatever it might be working for me, that would be fantastic, because then I can put them in those race cars that I'm trying to get around the track.
I mean, to me, it seems counterproductive for you to do all of the work, giving help to others when you have the potential of burning out and needing to help yourself.
Compassion fatigue is a real thing, but I can tell you in the decade that I've been doing this informally, I'm staying on top of it. I have a passion for it, that's for sure. But no, you're exactly right. Having a staff, but I get it. We have to start small. We have to start with one person. And every agency that I know of that now has a staff, they started with one. So I get it. I'm very patient. I'll get in line. I know manpower is an issue. Just don't forget I'm in that line. So thank you very much for recognizing that.
I so strongly commend you for taking up the fight to support our retired officers and professional staff. I think it's incredibly important that we as a department support them even beyond their technical employment. And I think it's important for everybody in the department to know that when they're retired, we'll still have their back. So to the extent that the board can do anything to support that, please please reach out, whether it's meetings or letters or whatever.
Okay.
That's, I think, something, and I'm speaking on behalf of the whole board, so you can jump in, but we're wholeheartedly behind you on that.
I agree. And something you told me stuck with me and I'm using it. We want to take care of our people from hire to retire. I absolutely agree with that. And this is a challenge that we have, but I think we'll overcome it. But I will definitely take you up on that offer.
I'll echo Michelle. I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the board, and certainly as I've interacted with the staff and everyone else. The work that you and your informal team do is so necessary, so needed, and has been for years. So thank you for picking up the mantle and running with it. Let's take a minute or two. So this is your TV PSA. You've got a group of 40, 35 or 40 people in here. What do you need us to do as we walk out the door?
Share with your families that the resources are free for you and them. There are so many resources available. People don't even realize what's out there. I can help you navigate those. I can help you get the help that they need. And not just people in this room, but the people you've heard of. That's how I found out about the two families that I'm helping right now, is word of mouth. So if you hear of anybody that needs help, if you can make a dot connect to me, that would be fantastic. It's that easy.
For Michelle. Why is it such a problem for him that you have that?
Oh, I thought you had a question for me. Oh, no, sorry.
Anyone else have a question? Not just us. Anyone else have a question?
What is CISM? Is that a regional thing?
Yes, it is. Critical Incident Stress Management is a concept, but it's also the name of an organization in Greater St. Louis. It's an international organization, Critical Incident Stress Management Team of Greater St. Louis. I'm on that board of directors, but basically we debrief critical incidents. We don't logistically debrief a critical incident. It's strictly an emotional and a mental health check is what it is. We don't care what happened at the scene. We care more about where you're at as a person. Everybody has a baseline. When a critical incident happens, you get down from your baseline. CISM is designed to get you to try to turn that corner and get back to your baseline. We're not going to get you there right away, but we want to get you on this path instead of this path. So we do debriefs after critical incidents, officer-involved shootings, horrible traffic crashes like we had in West County a few weeks ago, obviously Detective Valentine. Anything that causes a negative emotional reaction on the part of the people that were there, that's who CISM is designed for. Attendance at that is critical because it's a circle dynamic where we share pieces of the puzzle so that we can kind of stop that movie in your head and you can put your head down on the pillow at night and go to sleep. Sometimes imaginations go wild. And by the way, thanks for asking that. We definitely include our call takers and our dispatchers. They are not forgotten in this. They are the true first responder. If you think about the second that they pick up that phone, they're responding. They're the first person. They hear what's going on the other line. That's not something they can easily turn off or dismiss. So they are always invited to our critical incident debriefs.
Is it beyond the county?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Our team goes as far south as Cape Girardeau. We've gone as far east as Springfield, Missouri. We did the Pontoon Beach tragedy. We're doing Edwardsville tragedy today with the Amazon. So we don't just do police action. It's also fire, EMS, things like that. So any sort of large scale tragedies as well.
What our colleagues have said, when you get to the conversation with the county and you need us to do something, the board of getting the retirees covered, you let us know.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you.
I think as you can see, we have the right guy doing this. I can remember Scott doing this kind of work before we ever had a wellness program. You can tell how passionate he is about this, and yes, we're going to one day get him some help. Okay. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Any other topics for discussion? Very good. All right. We need to approve minutes from our meeting on November 23rd. So a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second. Okay. So conversation. Thanks for the second. Any further conversation on those minutes? All in favor of approval? Any opposed? Any letters or communication?
No.
Thank you. Any old business? Some new business, we have some contracts. We'll move through these as quickly as we can. We have 20 total professional service agreements, which most of that's for 2022. There's one that two that have a residual that already took place in 2021. 17 of them are directly for the St. Louis County Municipal Police Academy. Two of those are also for the police academy, but they're a useful benefit for our officers and staff on the Lindenwood Maryville that we'll talk about in the peer support program. We'll present these in batches, and if you have questions, please let us know. The first one is a professional service agreement with Constant Deitzman. It is for the CMPA, and it is a basic recruit nutrition training. We have a second professional service agreement with Michael Fagan. It's on basic recruit constitutional law training. The third is a professional service agreement with 6-Layer Concepts and Consulting for human train mapping and behavior pattern recognition workshop for December of 2022 at the Academy. We have another one with 6-Layer Concepts, human train mapping and behavior pattern recognition workshop for the July session. And we have a third with 6-Layer Concepts Consulting, human train mapping and behavior pattern recognition workshop for the March session. We have a PSA, a professional service agreement with Advanced Police Concepts for the CMPA for leadership and frontline supervisors. We have a professional service agreement with Advanced Police Concepts, the Complete Cop from Stop to the Box. We have a professional service agreement from Advanced Police Concepts, report writing and proactive stops. And we have a professional service, we'll stop there for a moment. Any questions on those? We have a motion to approve those? Michelle, second. All in favor of approval? Any opposed? We have another professional service agreement with Public Grants and Training Initiatives for Courtroom Success. Same PSA with Public Grants and Training Initiatives with Crime 123 Interviewing and Interrogation. Another one with Public Grants and Training Initiatives called Crime 123 Interviewing and Interrogation. The first one was for the March session. The second one is for the May session. We have a PSA with Public Grants and Training Initiatives for Mastering Today's Street Interview 2020 Vision. We have a final one with Public Grants and Training Initiatives for Mastering Today's Street Interview 2020 Vision. The first of those was April. This is the second one was for June 2022. Maybe a motion to approve.
Second that.
Thank you. All in favor? All right. Any opposed? Thank you. We have two public professional service agreements, one with Lindenwood University, one with Maryville. They're the same type of agreement. It allows for students at either Lindenwood or Maryville who are pursuing a bachelor's degree in criminal justice to enroll as recruits for training as police officers in the Police Training Academy to attain Missouri Post certification. Both run for the calendar year of 2022. A motion for the two professional services agreements with the two universities.
Move for the approval of these contracts.
Thank you, Michelle. Second. Thank you, Richard. All in favor? We have about 5 or 6 left. We have a professional service agreement with Sally Freeze. It is on, we had previously had an award of funded under the fiscal year 20 law enforcement mental health and wellness grant for the expansion of the peer support program. This will provide training to employees who will be designated as peer support mentors. So it plays a little bit into what Scott had just talked to us about. We have a professional service agreement with Law Enforcement Total Solutions on private security, original baton and pepper spray training. We have Vista Law Enforcement Training and Consulting for baton, pepper spray, and taser training. We have a professional service agreement with MW Professional Enterprises for private security original training. And we have a professional service agreement with Jeff Burke for private security original and taser training. I'll
I'll second that motion.
Michelle. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you all. For the academy. Boy, it's wonderful. Lieutenant Chapman, I believe you're back up with general orders.
Sir. We have 4 new orders. I believe I sent to you all last week. So the first one, General Order 31, is duty to intervene. This is a new policy. It's a requirement of CALEA to regain our with excellence status. It's also required by the DOJ to qualify for federal grants. And CPE, the Center for Policing Equity, also suggested that we add this to our policies. Anybody have any questions on duty to intervene?
Other than I commend the department for working on this policy and bringing this practice to our daily requirements. I'll move that we approve this general order. Oh, unless there's any other discussion.
A second.
On deck.
Aye.
So, approved.
Department General Order 58, Department Owned Property. The only revision to this, it removed the reserve officers, which no longer there. Included verbiage from Special Order 21-413, updated the purchase of the duty weapon process based on new county ordinance.
I did have one question.
Yes,
Why is it that we else do not wear earrings?
that's in the uniform. Sir. Department Owned Property, any
Let's go ahead and vote on that.
I'll move that we vote on, or I move that we approve this general order.
Further conversation? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the next one is, that's General Order 36, Uniforms and Appearance. Policy was created to include the addition of guidance of wearing the uniform with body worn camera, which had not yet been placed in the policy. Other revisions in the order included the addition of allowing the wearing of beards, the addition of the ballistic plate carrier guidelines, which is actually written in the policy now, not just an attachment, and more guidelines on attire for professional staff, non-uniformed.
Now I'll ask my question. I had my notes down. I was there. This moved too fast.
So I'm never one to kick the can down the road. However, on this policy, it was written several months, so I just don't know on that. Didn't have a whole lot of, this was pretty much done by the time I came in here, so.
So, we shouldn't have to vote the policy prior to leave it. I don't think we had an opportunity to finish it. However, at the command staff, we suggested that the policy should be gender neutral across the board. So you don't have to say male or female on this. So I just don't think those restrictions were captured.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel, because that's really the question, right?
Thank you
Very much.
What's that?
It was in. Take it out. Jenna, can you, where was the earring? It specifically says it's okay for women to wear earrings as long as they're,
Oh, is that?
yeah, it's, guys, men are not allowed.
Jewelry, it's on page 13.
So executive command staff suggested that this be this jewelry section be changed to gender neutral, but we just didn't get around to doing it. Is that what we think happened?
Like I said, I hate to stand here before you.
I'm sort of looking to executive command.
So typically how policy development works is we'll have a discussion about it in executive staff. So Ryan or Steve Hampton at the time will bring the suggested research to the group and we'll discuss it. And I can tell you, we discussed this in a lot of detail. And then after that point, it will go to command staff for discussion. Not everything that gets discussed in those two sessions ultimately finds its way into policy because ultimately that's up to the chief to decide. what he would like in the final policy. So the chief listened to all those recommendations from all of those different places. And what you see in front of you is what he wanted in there. Now he may have wanted that in there and it may have been an oversight. But he may not have wanted it in there. And I don't speak for him ever because he gets mad at me when I do that. So that's typically how policy gets developed. So just because command staff discussed it doesn't necessarily mean it gets adopted for you. I'm not saying that happened in this case, but the chief can answer that. I don't know. But we can hold it if the chief would like that gender neutral language in there.
Do that, we can change that so that it's back there.
Well, I think we could do one of two things, Chief. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think the board has two options. One is we can hold it, or two is we could approve it pending a language change to this section, so it doesn't have to come back before us.
And I'll let the chief talk on it.
Yes, and if you would do it second way.
Okay.
And we can make the adjustments in the language. This policy has been a big deal for us to try to get out, some of the things, the changes that are made in here. And I think it's going to help us with the morale of this department to get this out. So if we can just do it this second way, we'll make that language change.
I guess the board should discuss whether we feel comfortable,
I'm okay with that. This is really, it's a grammar thing and I think it's all of them. Actually, and here's an example. It says, okay, it's on page 13. It says, while on duty, any officer choosing to have their facial hair, any is singular, their is plural. So I don't know how you fix that exactly, but it sort of goes along. Any officer is singular and their is plural.
I think
I
that,
think that there is a possessive. Like she's talking about right here.
I think that technically and traditionally, like pure grammar, that's correct.
Yes.
And I think that
That this is
it's in today's world where we're trying and making efforts to be more inclusive, that using there is the more.
yeah, and I'm not objecting to that. What I'm saying is that the singular and plural have to be true. So
Yeah, so
that's
that's,
the only thing.
I think it was meant to be the possessive form, meaning my own facial hair, but striking the word doesn't change the meaning of the sentence. So we could just take
we
it
can
out.
take the words there out and it stays.
And I would defer to you on the grammar.
It certainly is not a deal breaker. It's
Yes.
just-
I think that was Commissioner Hassler volunteered to review all of it.
We would love to see that.
It's a smile that was written.
Small things matter.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this order contingent on the editing of section 13C, such that the discussion as to jewelry be gender neutral.
And that's slightly what you, that just happened to be one I caught. If there are others in there that they would be addressed also, we'll take care of that.
Yeah.
That I make to the
Yes.
I second that motion.
further conversation. Favor?
I
Over?
Yes, sir. I will take a look at that. Soon, Lily. And finally, revised General Order 115, officer-involved critical incidents handled by the Bureau of Crimes Against Persons. Revisions to this order include the creation of a process to handle the release of officer-involved body camera footage, as well as the roles and responsibilities of the wellness unit / peer support team. Lieutenant Roche spoke about once on scene at an officer-involved incident. Anybody have any comments or concerns regarding this order?
I would just like to say that I think that this policy is incredibly, I think all of our policies are incredibly important, but I think this one is very important. I want to publicly apologize to everybody I've pestered over the past 6 months, asking about the status. But I do think that what we're doing here is, my understanding is we're the first in the region to initiate a policy like this. And I think that it is wonderful for setting expectations with respect to sharing information with our community and with our media, and holding ourselves up to a really important standard. So I want to commend everybody who spent time thinking about this and working through this, and on a going forward basis to everybody within the department who's going to dedicate energy to complying with this policy.
I can well echo that. My add-on would be, we know it took a little bit longer than perhaps we wanted, but we also know that you took a very nice process of due diligence around testing it, to see whether we could live with it, what we were going to say we're going to live with, and then making that happen. So we appreciate the fact that you didn't just rush in and say we could do this and then not be able to live with it, or whatever it might be. So
Unfortunately, I think that we're going to get an opportunity to see how it works, the events that happened on Sunday.
expect your correction.
I move that we approve this policy.
Oh, you mean, okay.
Our last
So,
one.
yes.
The officer involved.
Oh, so,
Any other conversation on? All in favor? Opposed? And a nice lay down there, Steve, the officer involved, critical incidents and the duty to intervene. Those are very progressive policies, not that uniform and appearance aren't right, to the point that the chief made or whomever made it, the opportunity perhaps retaining, perhaps the opportunity to recruit, because people can wear, men can wear beard, I guess anyone can wear beard. Those types of things, it might make a small difference to get another 10 or 15 or 20% of our applicants to put a resume in. So they're progressive policies, but the duty to intervene in the officer involved critical incident, very progressive. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate the sentiment, but again, these weren't,
You're the spokesman.
moving forward, we'll take this. Thank you.
Anything else? All right, the next. Yes, next agenda item we had, looking for the notes. Next agenda item we had was on the revised appellate rules and the pending appeals for hearing, and we are going to postpone now until we come back from closed session. A little bit more. Anything from the public?
Nothing received, nothing public.
Very good. We'll suggest that we move to closed session. Yes, thank you. Michelle's guiding me through this, so thank you, Michelle. The Board of Police Commissioners may vote to go into closed meeting for legal advice and review of claims and lawsuits involving the police department. Section 610.0201 RSMO and section 114.0201 SLCRO, discussion of employee and personnel matters, section 610.0213 and 13 RSMO and section 114 and 0203 and 13 SLCRO. An update on union negotiations, section 610.0219 RSMO and section 114.0209 SLCRO, and discussion of the requests for proposals, section 610.02112 and section 114.02012. I have a motion. From a public standpoint, anyone in the room who wanted to speak? For that. Have a motion, yeah. Thank you. Have a motion. Richard seconded. All in favor?
I think we will.
Oh, the roll call. Thank you.
Commissioner Ashworth,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks?
Yes.
Commissioner Hassler,
yes.
Commissioner Schwer.
Yes.
We're now in closed session.
Please keep.
Reliable.
Keep No, it's not.
The important. Oh, I like that one better. Back on? Good. Okay. May we have a motion to return to open session?
I so move.
All in favor?
Wait, is that a roll
Roll
call?
call.
Roll call, sorry, thank you.
Commissioner Ashworth,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Commissioner Hassler,
Yes.
Commissioner Schlangen. Yes.
Robert's rules. We had one topic that we had moved to the it happened to occur after the closed session, and that topic was on the wording correctly, the revised appellate rules. Take a motion to, maybe we have a motion based on the conversation.
I move that the appellate rules be accepted effective January 1st, 2022.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
I think that the only comment that needs to be made would be that we're voting effective January 1st, meaning that we're going to set the hearings based on these rules at our next regular board meeting. Is my understanding correct?
That is correct.
Yes, if that's an amendment, accepted.
Not an amendment, a clarification.
Clarification, got it.
Any further conversation? All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Anything else? We're going to get to the date and stuff. Anything else? Session. Very good.
So you're gonna hold the appeals for hearing until January.
Say again, please.
You're gonna hold the second item for their appeals for January to set dates at that time.
That is correct. Thanks for clarifying. We will hold the pending appeals appeals for hearing until our January meeting. Very good. We are also decided that our next meeting, it will be on January 12th. We will generally be meeting the second Wednesday of every month at 9 a.m. Now, we have our first exception in February, but we'll come back to that. But our next meeting will be January 12th at 9 a.m. You on that? Very good. So I think we have to do a roll call to close the meeting. No?
I'll submit a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Chief. Waiting.
That was a correction, if I could make in reference to my Teneo report from earlier this morning. I believe, well, Chief Butler let me know, sure that I was correct when I said that we had only 3% of declined issues that we were looking at when it was actually 13.4% of decline issues that we were looking at in November. And when it got to December, it had gone up to 19.4%, which says that as we get further into the issue that we're looking at, we're seeing more that we are declining for one reason or another. And we're also seeing that some of them are being declined because some of them are already incorporated in other standards that we have. So that's the reason. That was the one mistake that I made. And that was the one mistake. The other thing was with the not started incidents. In November, it was 8.2% that had not been started. In December, it was down to 2% of the events that had not been started. So we are progressing and moving to the point where we are starting them and completing them. So just want to make that correction.
Yeah, update the corrections.
Thanks, Chief. I appreciate it.
Sorry, Chief, did you bounce past you? We were going to wrap up. Diana, it's roll call this?
Commissioner Ashworth,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Commissioner Hassler,
Yes.
Commissioner Schlangen.
Yes.
We are still closed. Happy holidays, everyone. It's 2022.
Thank you.